Hi, it's Tuesday and welcome to our daily video blog. And today we have a guest speaker as usual now. We have Andrew Jenkins, who's going to be talking about how we can actually avoid fly tipping things like green waste and actually use it to benefit our gardens by introducing maybe something we used to do historically, which is composting our waste, putting that green waste back into the soil. So I'm going to hand over to Andrew in a little bit, but just a couple of things in terms of a heads up from me. From the council point of view, one of the things I wanted to just mention was, first of all, this morning I've just come off a live web chat on the first meeting of the new Buckinghamshire Council Cabinet. We've actually met as a group now for the first time since we were put together legally on the 1st of April. Really good to have the colleagues around the table from the Cabinet. And one of the reasons I'm mentioning this is there were two items I'd like to draw your attention to. One is we had a very long discussion on what the council's been doing to respond generally on the coronavirus outbreak, and there's a lot of really useful information there. I'm just aware from some of the emails I get in response to this blog that not everybody understands what we're doing and how we're doing it and just how wide-ranging and all-encompassing it is, and you can pick up a lot of that information by watching that webcast. And secondly, we did have an item appropriate enough on fly tipping and how the council can actually improve its enforcement on fly tipping by introducing a fixed penalty scheme in that will supplement our normal policy of taking people to court if we have evidence that they've been fly tipping. So we have a zero tolerance policy in Buckinghamshire towards fly tipping, and this will be another tool in our armoury, and you can find out more about that if you watch the webcast, and you can get that by going to the Buckinghamshire Council website and following through the trail to the webcast. So I'd advise you to do that. I think there's a lot of good information there. The other thing I just wanted to mention very quickly was the business grants. I have been mentioning over the last couple of weeks that we have been processing a number of significant business grants that were announced initially by the government. They've given us the money to help fund that. We've written out to something like 6,000 businesses across the county. We've now processed over 4,000 applications for that, and we've actually already dispatched something like £53 million in response to those applications. So the team have worked through 2 weekends now to make sure we can get that money out as quickly as possible to local businesses, and I'm really grateful for them to do that. In which case, what I'm going to say now is I'm going to hand over to Andrew, and he's going to talk to us a little bit more about what we should be doing to put compost back into our garden. Andrew, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. So in normal times, I work across Buckinghamshire to help residents recycle more and waste less. And in the last few weeks, I've been trying to do the same, really. It's we're all home a lot more, so naturally we produce a lot more waste. So we've seen the amount of waste we collect increase. So tips on using up leftovers, what to recycle, or composting at home are probably even more useful than they ever were. So as a waste service across Buckinghamshire, we have been affected by coronavirus, so mainly due to reduced staff numbers who have either got the virus itself or are self-isolating with family members. So we're down on staff, so residents and staff are having to think more about what waste we produce more than we normally do. We've noticed lots of people trying out home composting for the first time and making use of the discounted compost bins that Buckinghamshire Council offers to local residents. It's a fantastic idea, and it's easier than most people think, and you'd be surprised how much a compost bin can kind of handle throughout the year. So if you wanted to try home composting, we've got some 5 easy tips for you. Starting off with the first one, find the right spot. So it's best to site your bin or compost heap in a well-drained spot. It allows excess water to drain off, and it makes it easier to help creatures such as worms get in there and start working on breaking down the content. Put your bin in a nice kind of partially sunny spot, and that'll help speed up the process because it will keep the compost nice and warm. Number 2, put these items in. So like any recipe, your compost relies on the right ingredients to make it work. Good things you can compost include grass cuttings, plant prunings, vegetable peelings, fruit waste, even tea bags. So these are what we call greens. Greens are quick to rot, and they provide lots of important nitrogen and moisture. The other things you can compost include small twigs, fallen leaves, cardboard egg boxes, scrunched up paper, and these are considered browns, so they're a lot drier and a lot slower to rot. They provide the fibre and the carbon, and also help little pockets of air develop inside your compost bin. So those are the 2 types of things you can put in your compost bin. 3, keep these things out. So certain things should never be placed in your bin. So no cooked vegetables, no meat, dairy product, and no kind of diseased plants that you wouldn't want to put back into your garden. And definitely no dog poo or cat litter. So if you put any of these in your bin, you can encourage unwanted pests and maybe even an odour. So keep those things out. And once you're doing that, you're basically making good compost. So the key to good compost lies in getting the right mix. So as we said before, mix of greens and browns. If you keep them properly balanced, you're on your way. So if your compost is too wet, add some more browns. And if your compost is too dry, add some more greens. So if you make sure that there's enough air in the mixture as well, that's really important. So scrunched up bits of paper or cardboard, create little pockets. That helps the compost stay nice and healthy. And if you want to give it a turn, feel free to, that'll help it as well. And then essentially, you just wait. So you'll have your compost. It can take anywhere between kind of 5 months to 12 months, depending on how your compost works. When it's finished, it's a nice dark brown, almost soil-like layer that you find at the bottom of your bin or heap. It's a spongy texture and it's rich in nutrients, and it's fantastic for spreading onto your flower beds because it really helps improve the soil quality and also retain moisture and suppress weeds. So it's a really fantastic way of getting rid of lots of garden waste and some of your kitchen waste, but also getting the benefit of the compost at the end. So if those easy tips have kind of got you started about thinking about composting at home, you can visit recycleforbuckinghamshire.co.uk and get 50% off a compost bin for your garden. All you need is your Buckinghamshire postcode and you can make use of that offer. On the same website, recycleforbuckinghamshire.co.uk, we have lots of tips on reducing food waste. The Waste Wizard, which helps you recycle more by typing in what item you've got and where you can recycle it, and lots more ways to waste less from the home, especially now we're all sat at home a bit longer. We are working hard to get services back to normal as quickly as possible, and as soon as we do, we'll let you all know and keep you updated. And thank you again for your patience and the lovely posters and cards and messages our crews have been seeing when they're out and about on the rounds. They've really been overwhelmed with how much support there is out there and really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew, very much. Some really good help there in terms of advice on composting in the garden. And that's something I've started doing again. I've resurrected 3 compost heaps around my garden for cuttings. And hopefully by the end of the year or next year, we can actually put those back into the ground as some good additional compost. Just a couple of final points from me. First of all, I'm very aware at this time of the year, schools are front of people's minds. Even though the schools are currently effectively stood down for a lot of pupils, it's really important that children have their education maintained. I know a lot of parents are focused on that, working very closely with their schools to make sure that children continue to study whilst they're at home. And just to say, there is information available on the council's website. If you go to the council's website, the Buckinghamshire Family Information Service has a lot of good advice on how you can maintain the educational provision for your children while they're at home in lockdown. So please do that. And I just want to do one last shout out, and that's very closely linked to this. A lot of schools have been doing different means of keeping in touch with pupils, and I want to actually pay credit to the Gorcott Fields Community Solar Farm. They've donated over £8,000 to local schools in the Buckingham area to support the education of children at home and to ensure their education can progress whilst they're at home. The solar farm has made donations to a number of places, the Buckingham Secondary School, to help fund software that enables the school to communicate with the children whilst they're at home. They've also supported Roundwood Primary, and that's in Gorcott and Tinchwick, with funds to enable them to have access to online educational services that will help them engage with their pupils remotely. And lastly, with the George Grenville Academy in Buckingham, who have also been supported by the Gorcott Solar Farm, so they can provide hard copy reading and writing materials to their students. And I had to read that out because, quite frankly, they've done so much, candidly, to support educational provision in the Buckingham area. So really great thanks from us to everybody at the Gorcott Fields Community Solar Farm. So that's it for today. Back tomorrow, more information, hopefully another guest speaker. See you then. All the best. Stay safe, stay well.